the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the General Secretary of the Amalgamated Union of Kenyan Metal Workers, Rose Omamo. She tells me some of the challenges women face in the world of work and provides some strategic solutions towards ensuring women participation in leadership positions in the unions across Africa. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program. Very quickly, we know that the month of March is the month set aside to celebrate women across the globe. You're one of the leading women in the world of work. Can you tell us what has been the experience leading both genders in the workspace?
And thank you for having me on board. I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk to me during this very important month for women. This is the month that we celebrate so many women, given that it is the International Women's Month. And so it's a time that we really, as women, are coming together to celebrate our fellow women. And as you can remember, our this year's theme was Accelerate Action. And as we accelerate action, we really look at some of the things that we are doing for the women, specifically in ITUC Africa Women's Committee and even in the leadership at large. And one of the most important things that we do is to ensure that we urge the governments to make sure that they can combat GBV, because we know that there's a lot of gender-based violence and harassment at the workplaces, and therefore there is need to adopt and enforce robust laws and policies that would combat gender-based violence and harassment at the workplaces, but also to make sure that we lobby our governments to ratify some of the conventions like Convention 190, which we are really working around the clock to make sure that most countries in Africa would ratify and implement that convention, but also asking them to also ratify Africa Union's Convention on Ending Violence and Harassment at the Workplace. So we do a lot of work, and I've personally done a lot of work for the women in my country and in ITUC Africa. And we, in all the work that we do, we ensure that we promote decent work and social protection, making sure that there is gender equality through social dialogue, and also ensuring that in collective bargaining, we address issues like maternity protection, like issues of breastfeeding, issues of having lactation stations for women. And so it's a lot during this month, and we are pushing for a lot for the women, given that it's a Women's Month.
You're an experienced trade unionist in Kenya, Africa. What would be your message to other women towards ensuring that they join the union and also seek for elective position, owing to the fact that we have more male than female in elective positions in unions across Africa and maybe the globe?
Yes, what it is for me to be a trade union is that women must be a voice to their fellow women. Women must agitate for their rights, and women must adopt and lobby for policies that are women-friendly in their trade unions and in their workstations. So what it means for me, especially somebody who has fought, is that we realize that 40 to 50% constitute women in trade unions. But when it comes to leadership positions, they are so limited, and women do not sit, most of them do not sit in decision-making positions or decision-making forums. And that is why, as ITUC Africa, we have always lobbied our national centers to make sure that they give women equal opportunities so that we can have enough women in the leadership and make sure that these women sit in decision-making forums. And specifically for me, the women that I lead and the women that I work with, I normally tell them that it is very important for women to make sure that they are capable, they have the required skills, and that they would go for elective positions in their unions. They need to organize more women so that we can have large numbers that would also help us when we are lobbying for these positions, because we do not want positions that women are given on silver platter, positions that they never fought for, positions that they do not deserve. We want women to come out, know their voting rights, go for elective positions, be elected democratically. That would then mean that there are people who have put their trust in them, and these people have bestowed their trust on them, and therefore they have a role and a responsibility to represent them effectively, given the fact that their positions are mandated by these members who elected them. So we don't want positions that are being given. We don't want nominations. We want to be in the ballot box, in the elective positions, to be elected democratically, so that our voices can count in the decision-making forums, even in policy formulation.
Would you say that there are any challenges limiting women towards being part of the union and taking up elective positions? Right now, you as an individual, you are the General Secretary of a union, which is not a popular act in so many other African countries. What has been your experience managing the union that you manage at the moment? And what do you think is the right thing for any woman to aspire, if they are secretariat staff, to aspire to become the General Secretary of a union?
Thank you for that question. And let me start by telling you that there are a lot of challenges that bar women from getting leadership positions, from cultural and religious barriers. We also have financial barriers that women face when it comes to vying for elective positions, because they need to go and campaign. You cannot just be elected from the office. You need to go from one county to another, telling people your strategies, telling people your vision and your mission for that union, and the reason why you want to lead that union, asking them to put their trust in you. And this you cannot do when you are seated in the office. You need to move from one place to another. And so many women are challenged financially, and you'd find that they cannot afford those kind of finances that would enable them to walk around. But also, more importantly, is the issue, as I said, religion and cultural barriers. There are people who believe that women's places are in the kitchen and not in the boardrooms. And as such, it becomes very difficult. But also male dominance, as you have rightfully said, most of our unions are male dominated, and a very small fraction of women sit in the leadership. And when it comes now to getting elective positions, because you expect people to vote for you, the delegates Congress to vote for you, it becomes difficult to get equal votes like the ones our male counterparts are doing. And so it then calls for very hard work. It also calls for a very strategic manifesto that can convince people to rally behind you, to support your vision, and to walk with you this journey and to fight together with you. I lead Amalgamated Union of Kenya Metal Workers, which is a male-dominated union with 10% female and 90% male. And it wasn't easy for me to get that position, because if you look at the percentage of male versus women, it is a very small fraction. But I did my best. I prepared a strategy, which was in my manifesto, and I walked door to door. I didn't let people campaign with me, but I campaigned personally, and I asked people to rally behind me. I shared my vision for the union, and I asked them to I convinced them to put their trust and to support my vision. And that is how I got men who would support my vision and who would work together with me, and who would help me also in convincing the other workers that I can change the narrative of Amalgamated Union of Kenya Metal Workers. And I had a slogan, and my slogan was reclaiming the lost glory. Because for me, I looked at Amalgamated and I saw that somewhere the glory was lost. The Amalgamated we had was not the original amalgamated we had. And so I wanted to take us back to the original and make sure that we trace our roots and stand firm as a union. And so my male counterparts would put their trust in me, they would support me and work with me. And as such, we fought together and we won together. And we now have a very organized amalgamated union that is female-led, but also amalgamated union that now trusts in its vision and its mission and supports and works in the implementation of our strategic plan.
Another interesting aspect of women leading across strata is there's always this question by the male folks about balancing work and family. What's your opinion about this? How can a woman balance work and family and also probably lead a particular trade union or lead in any particular corporate organization or informal setting as well?
Balancing work and family is a key issue because it is also one of the challenges that women face because they struggle with balancing family and work. And remember, family, we have families and we must make sure that we play our roles and responsibilities in the family. And even at our workplaces, we must play our roles and responsibilities because we have our obligations at work and our rights at work, but we also have our obligations at home and our work at family. And therefore, these roles must balance. Must, as we agitate for workers' rights, we must also make sure that we protect our families and we deliver the mandate that we have in this family. It has been a very difficult balance because sometimes when it comes to meetings, you find that there are meetings that are called for at odd hours that women cannot participate in because at that particular time, women think of their husbands and they think of their children. And what is it that we need to do? We need to advocate for policies that are women-friendly, that would also work towards making sure that whatever meetings we may have, we have them at an appropriate time where a woman can attend to these meetings and also get time to go home and take care of the family. We need to also make sure that we have time for our work and we have time for the family because the two go hand in hand. You will not resign from your employment because you have a family. And you will not only stay in the family and not work because even in a family, in a homestead, there must be contribution from all partners. And that's why we are saying we need to have equal opportunities. So we must balance. And that is why even at workstations, we agitate for policies on maternity protection, on breastfeeding, so that we can bring some family responsibilities in breastfeeding a child in a lactation station where is situated in our workplaces so that my child does not go hungry or does not starve because I am working in a particular company. So it needs a balance. And as we talk, as we mentor women, we also mentor them about work balance and family balance to make sure that the weight does not fall on one side, because once it falls on one side, then it will be a disadvantage to the other side.
Thank you very much for that analysis. There's, of course, a need for a balance. On a final note, I would like to ask you, there are not much data available online as regards the number of women that are are currently sitting on a leadership position in the labor sector, be it as general secretaries or as president. I wouldn't know if you have any information. Do you have any statistics about how many women are in a position as yourself in the trade union sector in Africa?
Indeed, you are right. There is no available data. And I think this is a call to action for trade unions to make sure that we have an aggregated data that brings together the number of women in trade union leadership versus the number of men in trade union leadership, so that we can look at the balance and say, and it can also be used as an arguing point when we are arguing for equal opportunities in trade union leadership. It is something that if we have and you put it on table, you know, statistics doesn't lie. And when we put it on table, then it is also a way for us to negotiate for more women if the balance is not there to take up leadership positions in their union. And I think this is, thank you for bringing it up, because it's a call to action, and we will endeavor to make sure that we have a data and an aggregated data for trade union leadership, because that will inform even in our decision-making processes.
Thank you very much for your time. It was an interesting conversation I had with you. And I hope to talk to you more some other time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm available always. This is the work that we do every day, and we are happy to engage in such discussions, because it also helps us to raise our voices and our concerns as women leaders in our organizations. Thank you very much for taking your time and for inviting me to this interview. I don't take it for granted. I truly appreciate.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.